Welcome to the Executive Innovation Show podcast, where we bring you real executive conversations with industry game changers and thought leaders. We ask the questions you're thinking, what you're scared to ask, and we make your brain hurt afterward. With your host, Carrie Chitsey Wells, co-founder and CEO of One Touch Video Chat, live video interviews, and the nonprofit Humans Helping Humans.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's podcast on the Executive Innovation Show. This is our Knowledge Knugget edition, and we are going to be talking about telehealth and orthopedics today, use cases, and common billable codes. We have a great guest with us today. We're going to be talking to Carol Ermis with Ortho Austin, and she's going to address three key things for us today. First, what are some good use cases for telehealth and orthopedics for new patient consults? You're going to hear her talk about rural access, driving distance, medical transportation, and reducing that, and folks driving from out of state to get consults. The second thing she's going to address is what doesn't require a physical exam that are good use cases for telehealth. You've heard a lot of surgeons on the show talk about post-surgery consults, wound care, things like that. And then she brings up some great things about reviewing films and others. And then lastly, we get it all the time. What are common billable codes for ortho, what you should be doing, GT modifiers, and everything of that. So without further ado, let's listen to Carol's Knowledge Nugget, learn some great things about telehealth and orthopedics, use cases, and billable codes. Take it to you, Carol.
For consultations in orthopedics. So it makes sense to use telehealth for patients who live far away from the office. Patients who live in rural areas where there's often a shortage of specialists, as well as patients who live out of the state, or for patients who don't have transportation available to them to come to the office. It also is sometimes appropriate to use telehealth for patients who have been admitted to a medical facility. So patients who are in a nursing home or who have been admitted to the hospital and can't medically be safely or easily transported to the office. The next question is, what appointment types in orthopedics do not require a physical exam, and can they be converted to telehealth to free up waiting rooms? So there are a couple of kinds of appointments that don't require a physical exam in orthopedic surgery that could be used for telehealth. Surgical follow-ups, wound checks that don't require suture removal or staple removal can be done via telehealth. Also appointments that are basically the doctor delivering diagnostic information to the patient. So if the patient has had an MRI or a CT scan done and the doctor has reviewed the films and is delivering information to the patient about their diagnosis, about their treatment options, and answering the patient's questions. Also, there are some patients who are ready to return to work or to sports really quickly after an injury or surgery, and they don't want to take the time to travel to the doctor's office for a quick recheck. So adding telehealth, adding a video to a regular phone call means that the surgeon can feel satisfied that the patient has healed properly while still meeting the needs of the patient. And the last question is, what are the most common billable codes in orthopedics with a GT modifier for telehealth? So right now, most commercial payers will cover telemedicine services, and they're advising healthcare providers to bill an evaluation and management code for telemedicine appointments. So that's 99201 through 99215, which is your standard outpatient office visit codes for new or established patients. They're also going to be looking for a GT modifier to be appended to those codes to let them know that the visit took place virtually via telemedicine rather than in person. Whatever kind of telemedicine service you're providing or whatever insurance you're working with, always call beforehand and confirm what their telemedicine billing guidelines are. Ask which specific billing codes you should use and whether they recognize the GT modifier. If they have a published policy about their coverage of telemedicine, review it before you call and be armed with that information about their coverage policies when you contact them. So thanks for taking the time to watch my Knowledge Nugget. If you have additional questions, you can find me on LinkedIn. Thanks.
This podcast has come to a close. To hear more from the Executive Innovation Show podcast, subscribe, submit questions, and share the love. Follow us on social. We're everywhere.